Uh, um, Today I'll be speaking with Chris Rush from Off to Class. And if you're an ESL classroom teacher or an online teacher, either at the K to 12 level or at upper levels, higher education with English language learners, I'm sure you're going to find today's interview useful. So let me introduce Chris very briefly. He's been teaching online English language lessons since 2012, and he's currently serves as, and I like this title, Teacherpreneur in Residence at Off to Class. And he helps onboard new teachers to Off to Class, and he also helps them transition from the classroom or use online teaching as a supplement. He's done blogs and videos and articles on Off to Class that you can sign up for a free trial at offtoclass.com. So, Chris, welcome. It's great to connect with you again. We worked together on an online course teaching writing that we did a couple of years ago that's going really well. So, and also thank you for the opportunity to write on the Off to Class blog about writing. So welcome. So
thank you so much, Frank. Yeah, it's great to be here. Great to speak with you again. It's been a little while.
It's exactly, and you look great. And my first question is, you work with Off to Class. So give us a quick overview of the kinds of things Off to Class does for K-12 upper level, that's the audience of people, for both teachers and learners.
Sure. Yeah. So Off to Class, it's basically an online toolkit for ESL teachers. So we offer a library of just under 800 lessons that are suitable to teach either online or in the classroom. All the lessons come with homework. And I think one of the real strengths of it is that you can create group classes, you can assign homework, you can assign our placement test, which links every mistake that a student makes to one of the lessons in our library. So it really is, we try to make it as versatile as possible. So it works well for an individual teacher, and it also works well for larger institutions who need to manage ESL delivery across multiple teachers, multiple classrooms, and often multiple campuses.
Oh, that sounds great. Now, I noticed on your website, I mean, you go right from New York to China, and particularly at the K-12 level, you mentioned a couple of teachers that use it for self-study, for homework, for placement, for testing. So tell about your success stories in using Off to Class.
Yeah, absolutely. So Off to Class started 4 years ago as really just a tool for freelance individual online ESL teachers. That's kind of how it started. And so like anything else, it took a while to get going. The lesson library started expanding. And then once we had a few hundred lessons in the library and some really rudimentary student management features, some schools started finding out about us, and some schools said, we would love to implement this at our institution, but at that time we didn't really have a feature set that would really be helpful for schools. So the first institutions that found us said, you know, Chris, what would really help is if we had a way to create multiple teachers. It would really help if we could track progress and expand on these features that the schools really needed. So over the last 3 years, that's really been a big part of our focus. We're still a tool for individual teachers, but really we've expanded a lot to add the kind of things that institutions are going to find more helpful who are dealing with larger numbers of students and multiple teachers.
So it's a robust learning platform.
It is, yes. And so it's, like I said, we have all of the lessons, and it allows institutions and teachers to just save time on their lesson planning and to ensure a certain level of quality of lessons without having to worry about textbooks, without having to worry as much about, you know, what is my teacher teaching? It just makes it so that the teachers can focus on delivering high quality lessons and not be spread in one more direction of what are they going to teach this lesson on this day.
So if I understand correctly, I'm a classroom teacher, I'm an online teacher, but if I wanted to supplement my teaching in the classroom, I have a particular curriculum to follow, some guidelines, I can actually use this to supplement my teaching, couldn't I?
Absolutely. So a lot of the schools that use us, you know, they'll choose us in one of two ways. Some schools that use us, they'll actually adopt Off to Class as the primary source of curriculum, where they can replace the textbooks because they can project what's on the computer screen in the classroom. And the students also have homework and self-study activities that they can do from home. What other institutions do is if they do have a very set curriculum that they're already kind of locked into using, they'll use Off to Class as a supplement. And so they can use it as a supplement that might say, okay, I need to teach this specific grammar topic today, so I'm going to use this specific grammar lesson with all of my students. Or they might say, I've got this group of students, whether it's a group of students that's remedial or a group of students that just kind of need some extra help that there are not other resources or time for to address in the classroom. They'll say, okay, I'm going to give this group of students the placement test. And by taking the placement test, it's going to generate the customized learning plan for each student. And the student can do this kind of on their own with the supervision of a teacher who can grade their assignments, but it's kind of something that can be a little bit more hands-off. So it can be very interactive as far as I'm going to teach you an online lesson over this video software, and we're going to look at the same thing at the same time. Or it can be done in such a way where we're going to say, all right, group of students, here are your assignments. You're going to work on these and you're going to submit these assignments every week, and then I'm going to give you written feedback on them.
That's great. That this whole area of weak students, of students needing remedial help, that's a big area. And I know at the college where I teach, there's a remedial center, a learning center where they have individual students go. And so this would be great for that opportunity to use the weaker students who could use this out. So a learner would have access to the materials. He'd have a password and access to the materials.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And your learning platform actually tracks learners as well.
Yes, it tracks. First of all, when they take the diagnostic will determine what their general level is. And then all of the mistakes that they make on the diagnostic, every mistake that they make is linked to one of the lessons in our lesson library. So as soon as a student completes the diagnostic, there's automatically generated for them a learning plan that's based on their actual mistakes. So, and even for students who have higher levels, often you have fossilized errors and things that are mistakes that they make at lower levels that are hard to find and correct. So this diagnostic is meant to catch those so that they have this plan that's going to fix not only the mistakes that they're making at the lower levels, but also address what level that they are currently. So an individual teacher can then say, okay, we're going to assign you these lessons that are in this learning plan and then supplement them with other things. And I think too, Frank, it's a luxury if your college has like a place for remedial students, because a lot of the institutions we're working with, the remedial students are just kind of lumped in with everyone else, and they're not able to get the extra attention and the extra work that they need. And so something like this is really helpful for those types of institutions where there's not really a dedicated resource for them.
Yeah, more and more students not only facing the learning disabilities, dyslexia, stress in the classroom. They can't even stay in the classroom for some of the work, for some of the corrected work or evaluated work. They need to go to another center to have the calm and quiet. So that's a great tool. Now, let me get back. You said there are 800 lessons, and I looked at the website, and they were across the 4 skills: reading, listening, writing, speaking, from primary right up to college level. I mean, it's really quite amazing how you can get so much onto that website.
It's been a long time. Yeah. So the content team really it's been a labor of love for more than 4 years now, of just every month slowly adding lessons, and lessons are added based on user feedback and what teachers want. So what we're doing now is kind of the newest project that we're doing now is called the step-by-step curriculum, because before the lessons were kind of, like you said, broken up by skill. So they were broken up. We have speaking lessons, reading, listening, and writing lessons. We have grammar lessons. And for a long time, it was really up to the teachers to use the errors from the diagnostic as well as just what their own goals were to design a custom and balanced course for the student. But now what we're working on is the step-by-step curriculum. And with the step-by-step curriculum, once the student completes the diagnostic and gets a level assignment, then you'll get a library that just says, if your student is at the A2 level, or if they're at the high beginner level, these are the lessons that you teach, one after another, no planning necessary. And in those lessons, those specific lessons, they contain all of the variety of different kinds of activities, so that you don't have to say, is this too much grammar? Is my student getting bored? What about listening? Where does that fit in? So the lessons that have been around for a little bit longer give the teachers kind of ultimate flexibility to make a custom design. But the newer lessons they really take any of the planning aspect out of it, and you know that the student at a certain level is going to get all the competencies they need within the lessons.
Okay, now you talked about that's really exciting, but you talked about someone, me, a teacher, and other teachers like myself who want to take some control as well and adapt stuff and not actually use it. I know I love the term static textbook. I mean, that's really static. But
Right.
to what degree do teachers have some kind of choice, freedom, creativity to do things and integrate stuff? Is there opportunity there in the step-by-step program?
Absolutely, absolutely. So you're not locked into anything. So when you have access to everything. And so teachers could start with, okay, if my student is at the B1 level, we're going to really work on this B1 step-by-step curriculum. But this student has a particular weakness with phrasal verbs. So I'm going to make sure that once a week we do a lesson on phrasal verbs mixed in. And the idioms are really fun. So I want to make sure that once a week we also integrate a lesson on the idioms. And they really also struggled with reported speech. So we're going to specifically work on reported speech. So there's really no limit in as far as how much a teacher, especially a teacher, someone like you, for example, who's been doing this for a long time, who you don't really need to lean on a pre-planned curriculum. For many of the teachers that use us who say, I know better what my student needs, all of that is in place for you to determine exactly the proportions of which your student is going to get what skills, what outcomes, so that you can really take a higher level of control of yourself.
Fantastic. Now let's take my example. I'm a teacher. I want to send a student to the remedial center. I want to use off the class. So what's the process? So would a teacher start using it and then talk to his or her supervisor or curriculum head and say, hey, I want to use this and I recommend other teachers use this. So what's the process?
Yeah. So for any teacher that wants to check it out, we do have a 30-day free trial. So the first thing that I recommend is that a teacher just go to offtoclass.com and start and register for a free 30-day trial account. Because when you do that, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to open a few lessons to see what they're like. You'll be able to kind of scroll through the lesson slides, look at some homework assignments, and you'll be able to create your first 2 student accounts. And what I recommend teachers do is send yourself or send a colleague the placement test, the diagnostic tool, so you can see what it's like. You can also create an account for a real student. And so the way it works is simple. You just add a student, you type in login credentials for that student, the student's email address. The system will automatically send those credentials to the student, and the student can take the diagnostic tool on any device on their own time, and then a teacher can talk to the student about what did you think of it, and the teacher will be able to view the results and compare those results to what they know of the student, and then to be able to walk through a lesson or two with the student. So yes, absolutely, if a teacher wants to use it, speak to your administrator about it, but often it's easier for teachers to say, we want you to be able to get to know the platform and take a look at it, and we want to make sure that you like it first.
Yeah, definitely. So you said any device, which means mobile.
Exactly. Yeah, everything is responsive. Not everyone has access to a computer, right? So, students, whether they're on tablets or phones or whatever, it works.
My students are on tablets, they're on phones, and they go to these. You probably have an off the class app.
No, it's not even. You don't even need an app. You just go to the mobile website, and it automatically, will become the right size for the screen. And that way, we don't have to worry about, it's Android and whatever else. It's always going to work on any mobile browser.
Now that's interesting. As a textbook person who has sold textbooks and online courses. So how does the pricing work? Does a teacher get a student to pay for it, or does the school pay for it? What's the pricing like?
So it just kind of depends on what the situation is. So for an individual account where the teacher would pay, it would be per student. So the teacher would pay depending on how many students they have actively using the platform. And for an institution, it's actually very similar, where an institution then pays based on how many students are using the platform and how many teachers are using the platform. And the way that it's set up is so that you kind of are paying for the seat, not the student. So if I have a 5-student plan and 2 of my students kind of graduate or they move on to something else, then I can use those 2 seats on 2 new students.
I see. But would the student pay for it, or would not the teacher wouldn't pay for it. So if
The Yeah, so the teacher or the institution pays for it. So if you're an individual teacher, right? Like if you're a freelancer, some of our freelancer teachers can kind of pass the cost along to the student via increased prices. But no, generally the teacher or the institution is the one who pays.
They take the package. So as I say, if I'm a teacher, I'm teaching at X level at the college, and I say, oh, I've got 5, 10 students that need remedial work. So I buy that package, and then I essentially pass it on to the institution and say, hey, let's get this. These students need this in the remedial center. I think that's an interesting opportunity for teachers and a great help.
Yeah, we have a lot of teachers who do that. Some teachers, when they're working with, they have a certain amount of budget for these types of students. And a lot of teachers will say, whether it's reimbursed or whatever, they say, this is what I want to use because I know that this is going to be, it's a lot less expensive than textbooks and it's really helpful.
Oh yeah, so that's great. So what else did I want to ask you? I mean, there's just so many interesting things. So just tell me, again, the options are there for teachers to have different levels of students and for the school itself to get on board different teachers.
Absolutely, yeah. So just as an individual teacher can create the accounts for their students, when we're used at a larger institution, then the person who's kind of in charge of managing it at the institution creates the accounts for the individual teachers.
Okay, so yeah, so for example, at my institution, my college, French language college, the 5, 6 language teachers, right from very basic English up to advanced. I'm teaching advanced, so there could be, let's say, 5 teachers who buy that package, get the school to pay for it, and then assign it. But the other thing you said, it could be very useful for teachers who want to supplement their income through online teaching.
Right, and that's the versatility of it. The versatility of it is great because it could be done through a school, or it could be done by a teacher saying, oh, I want to kind of do this as my side job. And, when it's done through a school, we kind of have some kind of branding options so that the school crest is on the site, it's on the domain of the school. So it's from the student perspective, it looks like they're never leaving the school's website.
Well, that's good, yeah, because you want to respect that, thinking that the school is responsible for this. Yeah. Okay. Well, fantastic. So, what are some takeaways? Give me 3 takeaways as we wrap up that you would like to leave with teachers today.
Sure. So, the number one takeaway is that Off2Class can help save lesson planning time. Instead of wondering what you're going to teach, you always will have a great, high quality lesson there that's ready to go. It will include homework so that your students can practice the skills that you're working on with them in the classroom for the next lesson. The other takeaway is that you can know that your student is going to be on a plan of study that's going to match up with their exact needs. Because they take the diagnostic, they make the mistakes that they make are then generated onto their study plan. And the final thing, it just gives you peace of mind. It gives you peace of mind because you know that your students are on a platform that's giving high quality lessons, and that gives you as a teacher can spend less time worrying about all the different students you're going to teach, and you know that they're all in a place where they're on something that is pedagogically sound, that's giving them the skills that they need, and you don't have to worry about planning 8 different lesson plans for 8 different levels and 7 different sections and all the different classes that teachers have, because teachers are spread too thin.
Yeah, definitely. So would a plan last a year, half a year?
Yeah, we do monthly plans or annual plans. So if a teacher starts a trial and they say, oh, I really like this, but I'm not ready, I just want to kind of see what it's like, they can do a monthly plan and pay by the month. Or you get a 40% discount if you pay annually. So we definitely try to make it worthwhile to go for the whole year.
Fantastic. So how can people get in contact with you? Tell me.
Off2Class.com. So on Off2Class.com, you'll see in the little right-hand corner, there's a chat widget. We're always there during North American business hours and often quite a bit later than that. We do have someone in Australia, so we have kind of the day and night shifted. So there's almost always somebody there. So questions are there. We've got video tutorials. We've got, an FAQ. So, and if you sign up for a free trial account, then I will start sending you emails to just introduce you to the platform to help you kind of get on board.
So that's what, crush@off2class.com?
I'm chris.rush@off2class.com. Yeah, but honestly, the easiest way is to go to off2class.com and use the chat widget, because that, we're very responsive to that.
Fantastic. So, Chris, thank you for sharing that with you, with us, and I'm sure we'll get some traction here.
That sounds great, Frank. It was great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, my pleasure. See you soon. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.